Hey guys, what's up? Before we get into today's garden tour, I have a very cool announcement for you. This Saturday, March 25th, I am going to be on a live YouTube-based show. It's called Let's Get Growing. I'm going to be interviewed around the middle of the show. Show starts at 11 a.m. Pacific, and I will leave the link to the show below so that you can check it out. For those of you who found me via Scott Head, he is also being interviewed on the same show, so you're going to want to check it out. So it is the first week of spring, like officially, based on, what they say in the calendar. And it definitely feels like it today. It's been a little chilly, but overall very pleasant outside. And I think we are almost done with our frosts for the year. Last week we were talking about how it was about to get pretty cold and how some of the plants already had a bit of frost damage. So we're going to go through and check on everything and see where it's at. Starting where we always do, this very first row. My spinaches right here seem to be doing all right, at least two of them. This one looks good. This one looks all right. And this one technically alive, but definitely not nearly as healthy looking as the other two. I had 3 different varieties of spinach that I planted, and I think I put one of each over there to kind of compare them side by side. The problem is I did not label which one is which, so that's my bad. I don't know which one didn't take the freeze very well, but these all look pretty good because they had the top over them for those nights, which I think does a pretty good job of insulating them. The garlic is looking absolutely fine. The ones that had this little bit of damage at the tip still have the same amount of damage. The ones that didn't have any damage still don't have damage, so I'm thinking that the cold didn't really affect them at all, kind of as I predicted. Similarly, in this row next to it, the onions look pretty great. No visible issues with any of the onions. They took the freezes like a champ. I wasn't super worried about them, but I do know they can be slightly more sensitive to it than garlic. So I wasn't sure, but I didn't cover them at all, and they seem to have done just fine. However, my turnips, not so much. You can see, well, it's hard to see actually because they're dead. Like this right here, that died in the freeze. There's a couple here that lived, but they look really sad. So that's kind of upsetting because I had covered this with straw, and I moved the straw off because I was like, well, they need some light. I can't leave them covered for an entire week. And then I was gone, and I couldn't put the straw back on the last night that it froze. Hello, Draco. I couldn't put the straw back, and so this is where we're at. And it's interesting because the temperature it got down to, about 29, shouldn't have been too bad for turnips, but like I was saying last week, the size of the plant and how established it is matters with how well it will take these cold temperatures, as well as what the temperatures were beforehand. So we've got a couple. Maybe they will survive, but I'm not really counting on it. I'll probably come through and just re-sow this and be a couple weeks behind where I wanted to be, but I think by the time another round of these sprout, we'll be out of the woods as far as frosts go. Radishes, however, took this a lot better. You can see some of them are actually quite lovely looking, and I think there's still a couple, carrot sprouts in here. Once again though, this probably should have been a little more covered. And any carrots I get out of here are sheer dumb luck. Oh my goodness, Draco. Yeah, you're cute. As we come farther down in the row, there's supposed to be potatoes here. The purple ones that had sprouted before the freezes definitely died back. I think they'll be fine. But there's also no evidence of any of the other ones that are planted here that didn't come up in the first place coming up yet either. And they're probably just waiting for it to warm up. I bet they will come up just fine once it's really consistently warm out again. On both of my trellises right now, I've got some onions and garlic on the outsides, peas on the insides. And with how cold it was getting, I was a little concerned about my peas. but they seem to have done just fine. They kind of fell over a bit, and I let them stay flopped over because I figured they'd be a little safer if they were close to the ground. I don't actually know how much a difference that made, but they do look pretty good, and once it's warming up again, I think they'll go through another growth spurt, and hopefully I'll actually get to harvest some peas off of these. Oh, and there's Mr. Draco. Every time my hand is like down close to the ground, he's like, oh, that must be for me. Right, bud? Past the trellises in this area here, I have this little corner of onions here, and I had planted fava beans, which you can see coming up now. I was a little worried about them with the freeze coming, and you can see this one got a little damaged. I think that's what that black is there. But overall they look all right. No more damage on any of them other than that initial damage. So pretty hopeful about that they'll make it through the next couple of nights and then be home free. And then turning our attention to the last row over here, I've got these Brussels sprouts that are still going to seed progressively. I haven't cleaned up the part of the plant that snapped in a high wind and started dying. I should probably do that. I don't think I'll get any more edible Brussels sprouts off of this plant, but maybe I do want the seeds, and the flowers at least will be pretty and good for the pollinators, so I'm gonna leave that. And then right here I had scattered some poppy seeds, and if you remember last week there was a bunch of grass little seedlings popping up here, and if you look really close you can see them all brown and curled up right there, and the poppies survived, so that was pretty convenient to kill all of those off right around, so I didn't have to take the time to pull them all out. Now, a lot of the onions that you're seeing in these rows are ones that I grew last year, didn't use up in time, sprouted, and so I put them out in the garden, and you can see how they're starting to split the way bulbs do, because onions are bulbs, and make all these cute little new plants. So if I want any like green onion, like the leafy part, I can come off of here and clip this. This onion is also going to go to seed very readily this year, and I'm going to get a lot of really beautiful onion flowers and hopefully some good onion seed stock to use for my crop next year. Onions, if you didn't know, are biennials. I'm pretty sure that's the right word. They are 2-year growth cycles. So the first year they make a big bulb, they store up all of this energy, and then in the second year they use that energy to procreate, to make their seeds. And so that's why first year onions, like the ones that you start from seed or the ones that you plant from starts, tend to go to seed at a much, much lower rate than onions if you're growing them from sets, because a set is a second year onion. It was picked small and then you put it in the ground again after a dormancy period where it is now in its second year of growing and is actually in the cycle where it's trying to go to seed, which is why I generally recommend starts over sets no matter where you are. But I do have a video recommending what kind of onions to plant based on your area up here. Look at those pretty weeds. Honestly, the colors are really nice and they're both edible. This is dead nettle, purple dead nettle, and this is chickweed. And you can tell chickweed, I learned recently, by the single line of hairs going up the side. You can see that right there. Pretty cool. Alright, and here closer to the house are the lettuce starts that I put out. I've got some more spinaches over here that are farther along but being munched on a little bit, and some lettuces that don't seem to be nearly as popular with whatever's doing the munching. Also, interestingly, I had this sprouting coming up, and I assumed it was a zinnia because of where it is, and zinnias having been here and the leaves kind of looking like it. But the more I look at it, the more I think it might be a sunflower. I'm not quite sure, but I know sunflower seedlings can withstand a little bit of frost, even though they're generally frost-tender plants. So that could be what that is. Still not sure, though. Okay, and then we are going to move on to the raised beds here. Per usual, not a whole lot going on. I am sad to report that the baby chamomile in this area seems to have been knocked back by the frost. I did start some inside though, so maybe we'll still have some. thyme is still looking absolutely glorious. Look at those leaves. The way they come in and the pattern on them is so beautiful. And in the second raised bed, I had some more lettuce and kale starts. This right now is the healthiest looking kale that I have, the largest looking one. And then these lettuces are kind of on par with the other ones that are out there. But everything is looking pretty good over here. Blueberries are still covered because tonight it's supposed to get down 2 or 3 degrees below freezing, and I feel like they still need just a little bit of protection for that. But everything else has been doing fine with the freezes. Strawberries have been great. I haven't seen any effect on the flowers that have opened either, so that's pretty encouraging. Blackberries look great. Raspberries also looking very healthy. Now, with all of that, there's still a lot to be done. There's a lot currently growing, but we are very close to all of the spring/summer stuff going in. So that's all of the tomatoes and peppers and eggplants and beans and cucumbers and corn and all of that. So in the coming weeks, garden tours are going to get a lot more interesting, but we've got maybe 2-ish more weeks to wait before we're really sure that there's no more chance of frost. If you're new here, I do this every single Wednesday because I really want to show you guys what a real garden looks like, what it looks like when you accidentally kill your plants, as I have, and kind of the things that you do when things mess up. So check back next Wednesday, for the next tour, and if you want to catch up on other tours, I'll leave some playlists up here. But before I let you go, I'm going to give you a really beautiful time lapse of the sun setting over the garden, because this trellis is now going to light up when the sun goes down, which is very exciting and very cute. So enjoy.